Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Mahdi TV, your comprehensive channel. My name is Haifa Muhammad, and today we are very privileged and honored to have a guest by the name Bukangesa, who will be talking about the impacts of the late Iranian President Sayyid Ibrahim Raisi. And with further ado, let's go into details and know more about him, and then we proceed to the different topics about our show today. So welcome, Mr. Buka. I hope you're doing fine.
Thank you very much also for welcoming me to the Mahdi TV.
It's an honor, it's a privilege, because we know you have an impact in the community, and that's why we are very eager, and we were very eager to have you on our studios. And back to you, we needed to know more about who you are before we go deeper into our topic of today.
I'm a member of the Communist Party of Kenya, and I serve as the National Vice Chairperson.
Wow.
I am also a member of Kenya-Palestine Solidarity Movement. And I'm also a commentator with the Press TV. So we see the Communist Party of Kenya as one of the founding organizations of the Kenya-Palestine Solidarity Committee here in Nairobi. And we have very warm relationship with the Iranian brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And also the Iranian government. And we are at the core, because even now we have the Communist Party of Kenya Legal League in Tehran.
Wow.
And what they are doing is to try and contribute to the legal discourse around the statehood of Palestine and the current ongoing genocide against the brotherly and the sisterly people in Gaza.
Oh, mashallah. That's really great. So back to our topic of today, we wanted to discuss about the services of the late President Sayyid Ibrahim Raisi and the services that he had offered to the people. And I know it's a sad situation because we lost him just a few days back. So I wanted to know how the Communist Party appreciates the late president's work that he has been doing.
Thank you. First of all, we would like to convey our deep condolences to the Iranian government and the Iranian people, and also appreciate the contribution that the Iranian government, under the able leadership of the late President Raisi, in regard to contributing to the what we call the new global order. And maybe without further ado, it's important also to recognize that we were privileged as a country, Kenya, to host President Raisi here.
Yes.
And this for us is a clear manifestation of his true friendship and the love for the global north. Not the global north, but sorry, the global south, particularly Kenya.
Yes.
We know that during his visit, he just didn't visit Kenya. He also visited Uganda under very intense anti-Iranian propaganda, mainly from the West. And even the President Ruto at that time was under very immense pressure from the United States administration, while he's hosting the late President Raisi here.
Yes.
And the Communist Party of Kenya, together with the friends of the Iranian people, were at the forefront to encourage not just our government, that the diversification of our socioeconomic and foreign policy cannot stop at only the global north or the Western countries. And we issued a statement to encourage that our relationship with the Iranian people that have been extremely resilient in terms of countering the difficult situations. You know, Iran is paying a big price. Even in the last couple of of years,
Yes.
we have seen that several sanctions have been imposed upon the Iranian people.
Yes.
And under the able leadership of the late President Raisi, he has been able to diversify and see sanctions not only as an impediment to the development of the Iranian people, but he has also seen sanctions as an opportunity of true sovereignty. He has seen sanctions as a way to accelerate development within the Iranian territory, not just through over-reliance of what you call the dominance powers in the world. But we have seen that one of the countries that the unilateral sanctions has really, affected
Yes.
is Iran. But Iran has come out of those sanctions and coercive economic measures, not from a point of weakness, but from a point of strength. So I think it's a project that most countries that are undergoing sanctions have also found, some refuge in terms of their relationship with the Iranian government. We can see that under the late President Raisi, there was a lot of trade that was happening between the governments of Cuba, the government of Venezuela. And when I mention these particular governments, it basically means that there is some collective solidarity in regard to the countries that continue to suffer under the hegemony of the United States empire. And the Iranian government under President Raisi was able to facilitate this important solidarity. And for that we see the Iranian government under the leadership of the late President Raisi was an important defeat for these illegal coercive economic measures and sanctions.
Yes.
The second, and also for us the most important, because after the death of President Raisi, we were very sympathetic because the Iranian people have paid a big price for the principles that they have taken to challenge not just the United States empire, but to try and bring peace in the region we call now West of Asia.
Yes.
So you realize that the Iranian scientists have been targeted by Zionists and Mossad and killed and murdered. We've had the Iranian military men, members of the International Quds Guards being targeted by the Zionist entity, IDF, to actually liquidate them. And even now, we are very skeptical to accept that the late President Raisi is just a natural disaster.
Yes.
But we are hoping that the Iranian government will be able to investigate this issue and help to clarify that this so-called accident was not a target of the enemy to destabilize Iran. Because we have seen that the United States government, together with the so-called Western allies, has continued to, to sponsor terrorist outfits within the West of Asia region. The Daesh, for example, was a creation of the United States empire and the Zionist entity called Israel.
Yes.
And it only took the late President Raisi and the resilience of the Iranian administration to ensure that Daesh and other terrorist organizations that were actually not just founded by the United States dominant class, but also were funded and even armed by Israel and United States, were defeated in the region. And for us, we see that as an important contribution in terms of bringing stability and sustainable peace in the West of Asia region. And also, as we also think that the Iranian has only been under the late President Raisi, and of course the Iranian administration with the support of the Iranian people, has only been one of the countries that have refused to be the client states of the United States hegemony.
Yes.
In fact, they have proven that they can score economic independence, that they can pursue not just the dictates of the Western Empire, but they can channel a route that can be able to benefit the Iranian people without the external interference.
Yes.
And then the most also important contribution of President Raisi in the last since 2021 that he became the president of Iran, remember the United States manufactured some enmity between the Arab countries.
Yes.
And made some of the countries its client states. But during the last few years, we have seen a restoration of diplomatic ties between the Arab nations, even those that considered themselves hostile to Iran. Particularly, we saw the Riyadh administration, the Saudi Arabia administration,
yes,
having the first meeting, with the Iranian administration, and even now the neighboring countries within Iran were actually, becoming much closer in terms of diplomatic ties. But remember, the tactic of the United States empire is to cause just anarchy and divisions within the Arab countries.
True.
To try and divide them and exploit, the entire Arab world's natural resources through using, puppet governments. And for us, we see that the diplomatic policy that was anchored upon the Iranian administration through the leadership of the late President Raisi was able to neutralize the United States offensive in the region and bring out good fraternal and bilateral relations of some of the countries within the Arab country. And finally, and the most important one, is our project of humanity, which is the right for the Palestinian people, not just for self-rule, but also their right for sovereignty, their right for dignity, because this, for us, is a project for the entire humanity. We have seen that one of the counterbalance forces within the political equation on people who are supporting, not just by talk, because some Arab countries only talk, but they don't give material or genuine solidarity to the Palestinian people. But we have seen that even now, as we celebrate the life of President Raisi,
yes,
our heads and souls must always turn to the Palestinian people,
yes,
because that is where he wishes us to be. So the important project that will help to make meaning to President Raisi's life will be that all the lovers of peace in the world should be able to advance their, unconditional and permanent solidarity, and try to show not just through word, but also through deeds in regard to the Palestinian project.
yes.
And we hope that in his name, the Zionist entity will be defeated, and at least in our lifetime, we'll see a free and a liberated one Palestine, where the Arabs, the Jews, the African can coexist peacefully under one democratic government.
Wow, that's good, Mr. Kingesa. So what is it about, what is the go-ahead of Palestinians? Because I believe President Raisi was a great figure in the society. So how are you guys planning to do his work? Because I believe the work should continue in as much as President Raisi is now dead. So what is the go-ahead for the Palestinian people?
First of all, we see that President Raisi, he's only physically disappeared. But in all our fight, anti-Zionist fights, in all the resistance movements, we hope and we know that President Raisi will always, be our companion in terms of even giving us the fire to resist this repressive Zionist entity called
yes,
Israel.
Yes.
That's one important thing. The second one is that we do not underrate the resilience of the Iranian people. In fact, Iran is one country that has demonstrated that it can breed, the best leaders that loves the homeland. So we are quite happy with the events that have taken place in the next few days, the last few days that we lost President Raisi, because we have seen the Iranian administration is moving just steadfastly to make sure that we do not have a power vacuum, that we do not have instability in Iran. And we can tell you that we are sure that the long route that he has taken to martyrdom will give us, the energy to now focus on the real enemy. So we are confident that the Iranian population will still continue to give us the best of leaders like, the late President Raisi. But moving forward also, President Raisi, was only a representation of the militancy of those people who are in solidarity with the Palestinian people. So if in event some people must be having some false illusions that with his death, the Palestinian project has also fallen with it,
yes,
we think this is an illusion, because you do not kill resistance by killing their leaders.
Yes.
You do not also, think that the death of one leader can lead to the collapse of an entire resistance. Because the issue of Palestinian struggle is about land issue. It is about opposing white settler colonialism. It's about the United States empire trying to impose its hegemony in the west of Asia.
Yes.
These are fundamental issues that still exist, whether you kill their leader or even one of their leaders have died. So we do not expect the struggle, the struggle for Palestinian people to stop with the death of, President Raisi. We actually expect it to intensify and, in fact, to bring even more dignity to the life of many martyrs, not just the Iranian martyrs, but many Palestinian martyrs that continue to pay the ultimate price for their motherland with their lives.
Yes.
So we in the global south, particularly in Africa, have a special, memory, a special historical consequences with the Palestinian people. Remember, the Kenyan struggle for independence led to the death of many people, and finally the hang of our freedom fighter, Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi.
Yes.
But that did not stop the offensive against the white minority British colonial power here. In fact, it was even much intense that it forced them to negotiate with some of the nationalists to make sure that at least we achieved some independence, even if not total independence at the moment. So we don't expect the United States government to change their policy. In fact, the events that will take place in Gaza only confirm the correct policy of the Iranian administration under the President Raisi and its consistency with other struggles that have continued to take place in the colonized territories. Remember, PA, the Palestinian Authority, chose the wrong path to negotiate with the Zionist entity. They chose the wrong path to negotiate with the United States establishment. But now the same people they are negotiating with are the same people that are raining bombs on them, killing them, and imprisoning them. But the path that has been taken by Hamas and the entire resistant axis is confirmed in history that the colonial project can only be defeated through active resistance and not through negotiation. Because negotiation means forgetting our land rights to an occupying entity. For that, it's impossible for those who have a reality that they need that land. There are some people who think that the United States establishment can be negotiated with to actually give independence. But what has happened even in the last couple of months, we have seen in the United Nations Security Council, in the United Nations Security Council, the U.S. government continuing to veto the right for the Palestinian, state to have full membership in the United Nations Security Council.
Yes.
In the United Nations General Assembly, it's only the United States itself and Israel that continue to vote against the Palestinian people. So in regard to this victory for the Palestinian people, now it's not a question of if they will win the war. We know for a fact that after the events of the August 7th, the Zionist entity, what they call the Israel Defense Forces, is not invincible. In fact, Mossad has been exposed as one of the spy entities that cannot, drive what is called the preventive warfare, because they look at the Iron Dome during the retaliatory attacks by our Iranian comrades. You remember that the President Netanyahu, that leads the Zionist entity and its United States backers, had told us that the Iron Dome was impenetrable. But after the retaliatory attacks by the Iranian government, now we see that the Iron Dome is not invincible. We have seen on the southern Lebanon, the atrocities that are being committed by the Israel regime. Again, Hezbollah has demonstrated that they can actually indeed penetrate the Iron Dome. So the events that has taken place in the last 2 years or 8 months, that the resistance axis actually disrupted the temporary peace that was being coined by, at that time before the events of the August 7th, you realize that many Arab countries were opening up to start the diplomatic relations with Israel. And after the events of the August 7th, the entire geopolitical system has changed. In fact, many of the, not just Arab countries, but even African countries and the countries of the global south, including Latin America, has reconsidered their diplomatic relationship with the genocidal Israel regime. So all these things we contributed to the able leadership of the late President Raisi, and we hope that in his honor, the Communist Party of Kenya will join other progressive organizations here in Kenya, including both Christian and Islam movements, to make sure that the Palestinian, are free. And then we come to the Al-Quds Day.
Before we continue, let's take a short break, then when we come back, we'll continue with the next session. Back to you, my dear viewer. It's been an honor to have Mr. Ngesa here, and we are still on it. And it's such a beautiful day. I just hope you'll stay with us. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Mahdi TV, your comprehensive channel. And today, as I said, on this first session, we have our esteemed guest by the name Buka Ngesa, who is talking about, or who is telling us more about Palestine and also about the late President Ibrahim Raisi. We are to know more about the Quds Day in this second session. And back to you, Mr. Ngesa. As you were saying before, I had to cut you short because we had to go for a break. You were talking about the Quds Day. Now, to you.
Yes. First of all, the Iranian intellectuals, and one of the greatest Iranian intellectuals is the late President Raisi, gave a new logic to the Al-Quds Day and the entire resistance of the Palestinian people. Remember, the Zionist regime has always insisted to brainwash the countries, or African countries particularly, that the Palestinian conflict is an interreligious conflict. It's a conflict between the Christians and Muslims. But the new logic now that, in fact, the Al-Quds Day for us is a day of resistance. It's a day to resist the arrogant powers of the West. It's a day to show genuine love and solidarity with the oppressed people of the world. This new logic has led to even increase the support base of the Palestinian cause across, interreligious, differences. This is not something that we achieved in a short time. This has only happened in the last 10 years when we've had many marches in Kenya, particularly in Nairobi, a big one in Mombasa and Kisumu, to demonstrate to the world that the Kenyan people understand that the Palestinian project is a project against settler colonialism. It is a project against land theft. It is a project against subjugation and apartheid, Israel.
Yes.
This is the new logic that has countered the popular Western logic that will want to profile a particular religious community or a particular ethnic community as people who either in one end are terrorists or they love violence, to counter or to hide their policy that mainly has nothing to do with any religion, but the United States' most important project is plunder. They would like to steal as much wealth across the globe.
Yes.
And this is what people must understand as we move forward. But even having said that, I think President Raisi had a very big impact on our president.
Yes.
When he visited here. Because remember, even though before the visit of President Raisi here, he was very consistent, giving solidarity with the Zionist project, which was Israel. But we saw a change of tone after the late Iranian president visited Nairobi. And we can say that we were quite happy in the United Nations General Assembly when Kenya actually led the vote in terms of voting for the Palestinian state to be members of the United Nations General Assembly. So we can see that even the most difficult souls, if we have the correct tactic and warmth, we can break their heart. Yes. And make sure that they become part of our project.
Yes.
So even though we have a very Western-centric government, but we see that now the path that we have taken on the Palestinian equation and the Iranian project is much more progressive than before the President Raisi visited us.
Wow, that's very great. So I believe each country has got to learn a lesson from Iran. So, and I believe people are waking up concerning the genocide that is going on in Palestine. So what are the lessons that people should learn, or what are the lessons that other countries should emulate in order to make sure that Palestine is free and to be one, and it shouldn't be taken as if it's a Muslim thing, because other people are taking it as it's a Muslim thing, whereas I believe each and every person in that country, we have Christians, we have every person with different religions. So what are the lessons that people should learn from it?
First of all, it's important to recognize that without economic independence, we do not have sovereignty. Because most of the African countries, including Kenya, our country, are controlled by the most powerful in the global north.
Yes.
So the business of Kenya is not being conducted by Kenyans, but some foreign multinational interests, for example. Now, this is something that you cannot do in Iran.
Yes.
So for us, we see Iran as a beacon of hope that the countries that are oppressed by the United States hegemony and United States imperialism can emulate to advance the development of their people. In fact, under the non-aligned movement, the Iranian government has demonstrated that if there is more cooperation between state to state in the global south, if there is unity among the oppressed countries, then they have a better foothold to challenge the dominance of the United States, policing environment. Because remember, the trade deals are very skewed towards the developed countries, the so-called developed countries. Most of the African resources gets their way to the global north, but the African people remain poor, humiliated, disrespected, and even some cases systematically discriminated through racism. These are important things that we can learn from the Iranian project. Those people have been able to criticize Iran in the name of a theocracy.
Yes.
But what is the theocracy that is more dangerous than the theocracy for those people who only worship money? You know, they don't see people as human beings, but they only respect you because they can get money from you, or only they respect a few people that are. We think that is more or less even more dangerous than, you know, what in Communist Party we call, we can even call it the civic religion, because the worship of the material things that make you go to kill. For example, why were the United States going to murder the Afghan kids, Afghan women, Iraqi kids, Iraqi women, only to, you know, to go and rob them of their natural resources? Is that not a more dangerous worship of material things than people fighting, you know, a fight for some ideology of sort? In fact, for us, we think the United States administration is more backward in terms of what the administrators worship than even the so-called the theocracy that they want to, you know, to put forward.
Yes.
But in regard to the Palestinian question, the clear, correct policy that has been taken by the Iranian administration is one thing that we can continue to actually learn a lot from. That you do not negotiate with the people who oppress you. In fact, if you negotiate with them,
they'll still oppress you.
Yes, they just create more systems to now oppress many generations, including yourself. So the correct policy that we can learn from the Iranian administration is that the oppressors only knows resistance. They won't stop until there is defiance. There is nothing illegal about an armed resistance rising against the people who actually are taking the dignity out of them. In fact, they confirm the correctness of the international law and the United Nations declarations and resolutions in regard to the right of the oppressed people. And even the concept of violence has been at the center of the discussions of the Palestinian people. And now it is clear, at least for majority of the citizens, that the violence of the oppressed people and the violence of the oppressor cannot be measured in equality as violence. Because now we have the IDF Zionist entity. They are bombing children, women, and unarmed groups in the name of self-defense. But we only have a guerrilla resistance, which are a few armed people, Palestinian people, trying to challenge the oppressive element of the Zionist regime, trying to challenge that we also have the right to access our land. We have the right for Nakba. We want to return to our land. Now, all these things that the Palestinian people fight for, some people try to negotiate with imperialism to try and give it to them. But now we don't even know that who murdered Abbas at that time. We are still intrigued because he was the best friends of the United States. And we hope that during his lifetime, the Palestinian people will be free. But now we can see even the current administration for Palestinian Authority, they are not achieving successes without the pressure from Hamas. It's only when the Israeli has been exposed by the Hamas resistant group that now there are some wins within the diplomatic and the international circles. So if you look at also the way the corporate media continues to report around Palestinian issue,
yes,
it is not just criminal to pick, to paint our oppressed people as if they are the people who are oppressing others. In fact, the racist reporting against the Palestinian people, for us it is criminal, because if you want to just present journalism for profit,
yes,
and journalism to advance the interest of the most powerful, and not to consider the less, the oppressed people, we think that is a psychological war against the Palestinian people. In fact, it is journalism through terrorism, because all you want to do is to tilt the public opinion that the Palestinian people are the people that are killing the Jewish people. But we know for a fact that there are also the Jewish people in the world that support the Palestinian right to exist as a sovereign state. But the role of the bourgeois media, or the corporate media, continues to portray the Israel regime as actually an entity that is trying to protect itself from another mighty army. But that is not the case in this in our look. We have also seen that the Palestinian project can only succeed through the act of solidarity, and material and verbal solidarity, as we may put it, and supporting the resistance movement, what now the United States call the Iranian Ring of Fire. But in actual sense, this is not just an Iranian Ring of Fire. The armed resistance taking place in Iraq, the United States bombed Iraq to a ghost city. Look at Syria. The beautiful Syria has been turned into a ghost city. Look at Aleppo. So the emergence of the resistance in west of Asia, it's also a counterbalance to the United States offensive that has been taking place in those countries for a long time. And I think the only country that has been able to consolidate that resistance and advance it excessively to the victory has been not just the late President Raisi, but also the Iranian administration and the heroic people of Iran. In fact, we trust the Iranian people because it is not the first time they are fighting with the United States of America. The United States of America is even weak today than before.
Yes,
and they
true.
defeated them. We have seen the United States being defeated in Korea, for example. Now they have colonized South Korea. We've seen the United States being defeated, in Laos, in Vietnam. So all this has confirmed to us that the right project for each person in this world who love peace is to defend and show solidarity with the Palestinian people. And the Palestinian project is not only, cannot be interpreted as an interreligious conflict,
Indeed.
but it must be seen that you do not need to be a Muslim to support the Palestinian people.
True.
You just need to be a human being to support the Palestinian cause.
Thank you so much, Bukangesa, for those few, or for the finishing line, actually, that it's not an interreligion thing, but it's for the people. It's for all of us. Thank you so much. And we are very glad that you are here with us. And this marks the end of our discussion for today. And we are blessed as Mahdi TV to have you here, because I know maybe reaching you was not easy, but then eventually you responded. Thank you so much, Mr. Ngesa, for those few remarks. And we hope to see changes, and we really hope that the Communist Party of Kenya will continue supporting the Palestine as it has always been doing. Thank you so much, Mr. Ngesa. Back to you, my dear viewer. I hope you've gotten one or two things from Mr. Ngesa, and I hope you will continue supporting Palestine. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that if we have lost the best president, the Iranian president, who supported or who made sure that he had something to achieve, he had to make sure that he wanted Palestine to be free. So we as Kenyans need to come forward and be together, hand in hand, to support the Palestinian people. For those few remarks, I want to say, ma salam.